The individual who inflicts the greatest harm on you throughout your existence isn't your employer, isn't a former romantic interest, isn't even your family members. It's you yourself. Each occasion you permit the behaviors of those around you to dictate how you feel inside. Across more than 40 years exploring patterns in how people act and collaborating with countless individuals from every corner of the globe, I've come to realize that a full 95% of the distress we feel emotionally is entirely avoidable and unneeded. And in this session today, you're about to discover precisely the steps to liberate yourself from that hidden cage you've constructed through your own ways of reacting. Imagine if I shared with you a method to exist in a world where painful remarks simply slide away from you like rain on a waterproof coat, where harsh judgments, offensive remarks, and harmful deeds from others hold zero influence over how steady you feel emotionally. I'm not referring to turning numb or detached from feelings. I'm describing building a resilience in your emotions that's so robust you end up designing your own sense of calm within. And should you remain engaged right through to the conclusion, I'll reveal the exact process to make this a reality for you. My name is Tracy, and over the past 4 decades, I've committed my efforts to examining the mental habits of those who achieve great success and maintain emotional equilibrium worldwide. I've assisted heads of corporations, champions from the Olympics, figures in politics, and numerous everyday folks just like yourself who reached a point where they resolved to seize full command of their inner emotional world.
The knowledge is power, and the power is in your hands. Subscribe for more power.
Allow me to begin with an anecdote that utterly shifted my viewpoint on outbursts of rage. Several years back, I found myself at a busy airport in Chicago, awaiting a plane that kept getting postponed for the 3rd occasion. Seated nearby was a gentleman who appeared on the verge of losing control entirely. He was shouting at the airport employees, banging his luggage around, his complexion flushed like a ripe beet. I faced precisely the identical issue as he did. The exact same postponement, the same disruption, the same fallout. Yet, as he was overwhelmed by his outburst, I sat there immersed in a novel, totally composed. The distinction wasn't in what was happening around us. It was in the manner each of us decided to view and handle what was unfolding. That gentleman opted to position himself as helpless in the face of events. I selected to own my way of dealing with it. And this brings me to the initial major insight I urge you to imprint firmly in your thoughts. Nobody has the ability to provoke anger in you unless you grant them that allowance. No one at all. Rage is invariably a selection you make, even though it might not seem so right when it's bubbling up. Reflect on this for a moment. Haven't you observed how an identical event that drives you to distraction might not faze someone else in the slightest? What explains that? It's straightforward, really. That individual has cultivated alternative ways of processing information. They've conditioned their thinking to react in varied manners. In my younger days, I struggled with a fierce, quick temper. The smallest things could set me off. A mocking remark, an unjust rebuke, a driver merging ahead without signal. It would spoil my entire day. I existed on an unending ups and downs of feelings where my state of mind hinged completely on the actions or inactions of people around me. It wasn't until I reached the age of 30 that I uncovered something that genuinely altered the course of my existence. Rage stems from expectations that go unfulfilled. Every single time, no exceptions. When you anticipate that individuals will act in specific fashions and they fail to do so, when you foresee events progressing in particular patterns and they deviate, that's the point where annoyance escalates into fury. But consider the issue here. You lack authority over others, you lack authority over outside occurrences, yet you possess total authority over what you expect. And once you master handling those anticipations wisely, experiencing rage turns into something highly unlikely. Permit me to illustrate how this operates in real scenarios. Picture a supervisor who habitually shows up tardy for gatherings. If each instance of lateness leads you to anticipate punctuality, you'll end up irritated repeatedly. However, if you modify your anticipation and prepare for a delay of about 15 minutes, arriving promptly becomes a delightful bonus, and lateness finds you ready in your mind. Notice the shift? You didn't alter your supervisor, but you revolutionized your own feeling about it all. At this point, I'd like you to join me in a brief mental exercise. Consider the three individuals who currently frustrate you the most in your daily routine. Have you identified them? Excellent. Now, probe yourself. What specific anticipations do you hold regarding these folks that keep going unmet? Are you looking for your spouse to show greater thoughtfulness? Your children to demonstrate more accountability? Your colleagues to exhibit higher levels of professionalism? The next significant understanding I've gained is the following. Individuals do not exist on this planet to fulfill what you anticipate from them. They are present to navigate their personal journeys, commit their individual errors, make their unique choices. Once this truth sinks in profoundly, an enormous weight eases from your being. I recall working with a woman named Margaret, a 45-year-old leader in her field who arrived at my door utterly worn out. She explained, "Brian, I'm exhausted from constant anger. My spouse offers no assistance around the house. My children show me no regard. My superior fails to appreciate my contributions. It seems nobody gets me." I posed a query to her that lingered in her thoughts for days afterward. "Margaret, supposing you had to spend the remainder of your years with precisely these same individuals acting in exactly their current manners, how would you elect to experience your feelings?" Initially, the question angered her. "They ought to alter their ways," she exclaimed loudly, and my response was, "Perhaps they should, perhaps they shouldn't. But as you await that shift, you're squandering precious years steeped in irritation and wrath." Half a year on, Margaret returned to me, a changed person. She hadn't transformed her spouse, her offspring, or her superior, but she had altered an element far more influential. She had reshaped the way she perceived their actions. Now, please don't misunderstand my intent. I'm not advocating that you tolerate harmful connections or situations involving mistreatment. I'm addressing those everyday aggravations, the instances where you permit ordinary human flaws to disrupt your internal harmony. This brings us to the third core principle. Rage serves no practical purpose in resolving issues. Ponder this. When has your last outburst ever enhanced any circumstance? When has an emotional eruption ever advanced you toward the outcome you desired? Fury obscures your clear thinking, harms your connections with others, impacts your bodily well-being, and strips away the sharpness of mind required for sound choices. It's comparable to attempting to navigate a vehicle with a mist-covered window. Not only do you fail to reach your intended spot, but you heighten the risk of a serious mishap dramatically. Conversely, by remaining composed and safeguarding your emotional steadiness, you gain access to your full intellect, your entire creative capacity, your complete skill in influencing outcomes favorably. You reason more effectively, express yourself more clearly, bargain more skillfully, address challenges more proficiently. Allow me to introduce a method I've employed for many years that has altered the paths of countless individuals. I refer to it as the brief 10-second intermission. Whenever you sense fury beginning to build, prior to uttering anything, prior to any movement, inhale deeply and count silently up to 10. During those 10 seconds, inquire within, how do I wish to experience myself once this moment passes? You're not querying how you want the opposite party to feel, nor the resolution of the event. You're focusing on your desired state. Do you aim to feel satisfaction in your handling of it? Do you seek to feel harmony within? Do you want to embody someone who upholds their self-respect, regardless of external actions? With that clarity, your appropriate response emerges naturally. The fourth principle involves what I term the mirror of emotions. Others don't provoke anger in you due to their deeds, but because of what their deeds reflect, back about aspects within you. If tardiness from someone deeply unsettles you, question, does some part of me also grapple with being on time? If irresponsibility in another provokes strong irritation, inquire, is there a domain in my own world where I exhibit similar traits? This isn't about excusing poor conduct. Yet, recognizing that your strong emotional response often mirrors elements from your personal inner landscape allows you to transform those encounters into chances for self-improvement rather than ongoing distress. A couple of years past, I collaborated with a high-level executive who would fly into rages whenever his team members displayed a lack of proactive spirit. Through our discussions, we uncovered that he had long evaded major business risks due to fears of setback. Upon acknowledging this and addressing his personal drive, the absence of initiative in others ceased to disturb him intensely. Rather than fury, he evolved into a guiding figure filled with empathy. Have you ever pondered what your sources of annoyance reveal about your own areas needing development? The fifth principle stands out as extraordinarily freeing. You bear complete accountability for your feelings, and this accountability is incredibly empowering. Why so? Because holding that responsibility implies you possess the capacity to alter them. If external parties dictated your inner states, you'd remain utterly vulnerable to their whims. Envision briefly how your routine would transform if you became impervious to emotional onslaughts from others. If rebukes, derogatory words, biting sarcasm, impoliteness, thoughtlessness merely lacked any hold on your core being, what shifts would occur in your everyday interactions? Allow me to recount the experience of my acquaintance David, who cultivated this capability to an impressive degree. David was employed in client support for a communications firm. Daily, he fielded numerous calls from upset clients, many shouting, hurling insults, assigning blame for issues beyond his creation. Initially, David would return home each evening, depleted on an emotional level, overwhelmed by tension, occasionally sinking into low moods. However, upon implementing the concepts I'm outlining here, a remarkable change unfolded. He started perceiving each irate client as an individual in distress, requiring assistance rather than a direct assailant. He honed the skill to entirely detach the client's turmoil from his personal equilibrium. He maintained composure and genuine concern, even amid verbal assaults. And the outcome? He not only experienced greater well-being, but his performance soared. Clients began to settle quicker during conversations with him. His manager advanced his position. His home life enhanced as he stopped carrying occupational strain back to his loved ones. This illustrates the power of assuming total accountability for your inner feelings. You not only improve your own state, but you excel more broadly in all endeavors. Moving to the sixth principle, it concerns what I label the strategy of observation. Rather than falling prey to your feelings, you can train to become a detached watcher of them. Instead of declaring, "I am filled with rage," shift to, "I notice the presence of rage within me." Observe the subtle distinction. In the former, you merge entirely with the feeling. You become it. In the latter, a segment of you stands apart, monitoring, analyzing, determining the next step. Let's practice this together at this moment. Recall an incident that recently upset you. Have it in mind. Now, rather than immersing back into the emotion, examine it as a researcher would a curious specimen. What sparked it? Which anticipations remained unmet? What narrative did you construct around its significance? As you build this observational ability, a remarkable truth emerges. Your feelings resemble atmospheric conditions. They arrive and depart. They shift and evolve. And just as you wouldn't fuse your identity with a temporary thunderstorm over your town, there's no need to fuse with a transient emotion traversing your awareness. The seventh principle explores the strength found in reinterpreting events. Any occurrence allows for numerous perspectives. Fury emerges when you select the view that casts you as helpless. Tranquility comes when you opt for the perspective that preserves your command over your journey. For instance, facing severe critique, you might see it as, "This individual is unjustly assaulting me," sparking wrath. Alternatively, this offers insight into their view of me, potentially valuable for my advancement, fostering interest. Or, this reflects their personal discontent or hurt expressed clumsily, evoking empathy. Which viewpoint benefits you most? Which retains your grip on your feelings? Which aligns you with your aspirational self? Several years ago, a publication issued a scathing assessment of one of my writings. The reviewer essentially dismantled my efforts, doubted my qualifications, implied my knowledge was lacking. My immediate impulse was defensive rage. How could they presume such audacity? I'd aided millions. My experience spanned decades. Yet, I recalled my principles. I paused, inhaled profoundly, and queried, how might I reinterpret this to aid my progress? I chose to view it as a prompt for sincere self-review and potential enhancements. Revisiting my work critically, I acknowledged valid points in the feedback. Certain parts needed better clarity. Some reasonings required fortification. That input fueled improvements in my subsequent publication, which turned out to be among my top achievers. What if you began treating every frustrating encounter as a training ground for bolstering your emotional resilience? How might that reshape your ordinary days? The eighth principle draws from my observations of those who thrive and find joy. They extend understanding toward the unawareness of others. They recognize that hurtful, discourteous, or inconsiderate conduct often arises from the perpetrator's own anguish, uncertainties, or underdeveloped emotional capacities. This isn't about condoning or permitting harm. It involves grasping that the one lashing out likely endures greater inner turmoil than you. With this comprehension, detaching personally from their deeds becomes far simpler. I recall delivering a talk when an attendee abruptly interjected with hostility, proclaiming my content as empty inspirational nonsense lacking depth. The atmosphere in the venue grew tense. My instinctive inner urge was to defend, but I swiftly pondered, what suffering is this individual voicing? Rather than countering with wrath or wit, I responded serenely, it's clear this matters deeply to you. Care to elaborate on the background that shaped your opinion? A hush fell, then his demeanor softened entirely. He shared losing substantial funds to a deceitful self-help figure, leading to skepticism toward the field. Our 10-minute exchange shifted the entire gathering's vibe. Ultimately, he conceded projecting prior hurts onto me and offered a public apology. Notice the transformation? Instead of escalating conflict, his outburst evolved into a moment of restoration for him, an education for all present. This segues to the ninth principle. Those who find contentment emphasize resolutions over obstacles. Those in discontent dwell on obstacles over resolutions. Upon encountering disturbance, promptly query, how might I address or better this? Wrath fixates you on the obstacle, cycling thoughts on injustice, poor conduct of others, your own upset, none advancing progress. In contrast, composure and solution orientation unlock your mind's ingenuity. Avenues appear that fury had obscured. For example, if your companion routinely leaves unclean dishes, raging each occurrence resolves zilch. Instead, brainstorm innovations. Perhaps rotate dish duties. Perhaps clean immediately post-meal. Perhaps temporary use of disposables. Perhaps weekly cleaning help. A solution-focused mind invariably uncovers paths. A problem-focused one merely amplifies upset. And lastly, the 10th and profoundly impactful principle, cultivate what I term the shield of self-worth. Individuals with firm self-regard prove nearly invulnerable to emotional strikes from outside because their value isn't tied to approvals or views from others. When your sense of worth roots in personal accomplishments, adhered values, ongoing development, and honorable conduct, outside critiques may inform but cannot diminish your core. View it thus. If accused of being a pachyderm, would offense arise? Naturally not, knowing your true nature. The accusation holds no weight. Likewise, with firm self-knowledge and value, adverse remarks lose sting. Through years aiding others build this fortitude, all followed a deliberate path defining personal success metrics and worth. They refuse external definitions of their essence or value. Here's an immediate exercise for you. Halt and note 3 accomplishments that fill you with true pride. Not those praised externally, but ones you know reflect your best efforts. Perhaps managing a hardship adeptly, aiding another, conquering a fear. Identified? Wonderful. These prove your inherent merit, irremovable, indisputable, eternally yours. Regular recollection fortifies an inner base unshakable by outside forces. Now, regarding daily application of these ideas, mere intellectual grasp suffices not. Forge them into instinctive patterns. Firstly, over the coming 30 days, employ the 10-second intermission whenever aggravation surfaces. Avoid overnight overhauls of your character. Simply engage the intermission. Deep breath, silent count, to 10 pre-response. Secondly, each evening prior to sleep, reflect on your day and pinpoint an instance ripe for calmer management. Avoid self-rebuke for imperfections. Merely note and extract lessons. How to approach similarly next occasion. Thirdly, begin viewing each frustrating individual as a complementary coach for your emotional evolution. They are providing training arenas. Rather than evasion or bitterness, inwardly appreciate the chance to hone skills. Picture the alterations if embraced. Mornings awake and secure that external factors can't disrupt your calm, sans consent. Connections where others encounter steady comprehension amid their storms. Influence on your children, witnessing graceful navigation of trials. Work dynamics shifting as you're recognized for unflappable demeanor, solution-seeking, optimistic outlook. This transcends mere anger avoidance. It's evolving into your mightiest version, forging resilience to confront any hurdle with assurance and poise. Allow me to share about Sarah, a standout participant in my programs. 5 years passed upon meeting. This 42-year-old had decades of reactive emotions. Her union teetered on collapse. Ties with adolescent children strained, workplace reputation volatile and fiery. Post a year diligently applying these ideas, Sarah underwent what she describes as near miraculous change. Her union fortified as her husband relaxed from constant caution. Children turned to her for guidance, assured of measured responses. Professionally, elevated to lead roles for composure in high-stakes scenarios. Above all, her self-view. Now, for the initial instance, I dictate my emotional realm. No longer swayed like foliage by winds of others' words or deeds. I am akin to a peak, steadfast, enduring, immovable. Such liberty beckons upon skill mastery. It's accessible not solely to ascetics or thinkers. It's a tangible ability cultivable through commitment and repetition. You may counter, Brian, theoretically appealing, but my circumstance is unique. You unaware of my superior, past love, locals, they're intolerable. Indeed, challenging personalities exist. Unjust scenarios, wrongful acts abound. Yet, the essence, your response remains your election even then. Consider, strolling and encountering muck that adheres to footwear. Choices, remain railing against the muck, furious at its source, victimized, or cleanse and proceed toward goals. Difficulties resemble life's mud spots, inevitable appearances, but you decide emotional entrapment or skill-building usage. Each selection of calm over wrath, empathy over impulse, resolutions over accusation, strengthens emotional fortitude. Akin to muscular development, repeated use enhances power. You gain foremost from your steadiness, improved rest, bodily functions, defenses, bonds, output, profound wellness, and command. Yet, remarkable outward effects too. Others witnessing your poise amid potential chaos. Wise responses where emotion might rule, positions you as exemplar, sought for counsel, reliability. Note how serenity in others induces your own ease. Their tranquility spreads. You can offer likewise. Envision a year hence, consistent application yielding equilibrium irrespective of externals. Your sensations, altered bonds, advanced self, attainable via deliberate choice and routine. Here's a tailored 90-day approach. Initial 30 days. Center solely on intermission routine. Aggravation arises. Halt, count 10. No response alteration yet. Merely the halt. Following 30, in halt, append. Desired end feeling. Allow it to steer actions. Final 30. Post-challenging exchanges, query self-learnings. Leverage trials for advancement. 90 days complete. Uncover emotional capacities previously unknown. Earn admiration for poise, insight. Commences with resolve. Assume total emotional accountability. Cease victimhood to others. Emerge as designer of inner tranquility. Your election? Permit external sway over sentiments, or grasp control, forge resilience to flourish amid any. This choice shapes daily moods and ultimate identity. Your identity influences key circles. Offspring require models of emotional steadiness. Companions need anchors in turbulence. Peers need thoughtful guides, not impulsive. Society craves more opting harmony over strife. You can embody, halt drama spirals with composure, convert charged spaces with peaceful aura. Months prior, correspondence from Roberto amid profound trial, His perpetually fault-finding, harsh father, terminally ill with malignancy. Assumed primary care role. Penned, Brian harbored bitterness for decades. Bedside visits once wars, yet final months exercise control. Rather than retort to barbs, perceived frightened soul confronting end. Broke patterns, held core. Roberto found profound. Steady composure, kindness eased father. Closing weeks yielded heartfelt dialogues unseen in years. Father expressed regret for past severities. Had I reverted to habitual rage, he noted, forfeited reconciliation. Choice reshaped finale, bestowed unthinkable serenity. Such enchantment from commanding inner realm alters personal encounters, opens avenues for others' mending, evolution. Approaching conclusion, note. Genuine shifts occur in minor instances. Not grand upheavals forge resilience. Every day. Spouse's irksome inflection, youth's dismissive glance, abrupt clerk, erratic driver, your training arena. Each poised selection over impulse, a strengthening repetition. Existence supplies ample daily sessions. View not as load, but boon, trying folks as instructors. Pressing events as resilience tests. Noted in adept ones. Cultivate light-hearted view on humanity. Find near humorous our overreactions to trivialities. Not mocking, but kind recognition. All navigating varied emotional maturity. Upon attainment, via steady effort, claim supreme liberty. Express authentic self, irrespective of surroundings. Uphold respect in all settings. Offer love, aid from solidity, not dependency. Invaluable autonomy. Clearer choices, sans fog. Profounder ties, safe spaces for openness. Influential guidance, reliance on your constancy under duress. Foremost, arise thankful, equipped for any, regardless trials. Picture that assurance, alters bearing, expression, stride, aware nothing seizes equilibrium, exudes subtle, drawing strength. Pre-conclusion, potent routine, visualization. Dawn, pre-rising, 5 minutes in vision, flawless emotional day. Perceive managing exchanges with poise, elegance. Possible frictions dissolve harmoniously. Center intact. Conclude day satisfied with managements. Dawn envisioning primes, depths to align behaviors. Mind crafts, responses mirroring envisioned ideal. Evenings. Acknowledge one instance of poise, supplanting possible wrath. Honor minor triumphs. Proof of progress. Bolsters resolve. Recall, not aiming emotion-free automaton. Feelings innate, vital to humanity. Advancing. Elect deliberate reactions over domination by them. Sense bother, reply with inquiry. Encounter hurdle, pursue fixes. Face let down, adjust inventively. Feeling arises, you steer, particularly for young ones. Absorb from observing your life navigations. Witness composure amid stress. Demonstrates feasibility. Prioritize fixes over fault. Equips them for triumphs ahead. Children of steady guardians gain immense edge. Inner templates for tension, disputes, wholesome bonds. Ultimate legacy. Finally, mastery of emotions. A voyage, not endpoint. Flawless days, lapsed ones, part of growth. Crucial. Avoid lapses as evidence of incapacity. Treat as insightful data. Triggers identified, alternate approaches, bolster weak spots. Each informs refinement. Experts in domains, not flawless, but rapid learners from missteps. Honing these attracts new circles. Intense reactors fade, lacking fuel. Draw composed, uplifting, evolution-focused. May unsettle initially if accustomed to prior dynamics. Rely on evolution. Drama-rooted prove unsustainable. Reciprocal esteem, advancement, adult dialogue. More fulfilling, enduring, vital. These abilities not passive endurance or abuse tolerance. Contrary, total emotional command. Establish limits potently. Firmness sans wrath. Declare boundaries calmly, sans escalation. Address wrongs sans excess theater. Safeguard principles sans assaults. True power versus frailty. Persisting. Unearth untapped inner depths. Astonish at newfound serenity in past trigger zones. Foster silent assurance, dependable in any emotional storm. Extends broadly. Bolder pursuits, not halted by dread of rebuke or failure. Grand ambitions, manage highs, lows with evenness. Richer bonds, spaces for genuine sharing. Career prowess, clear-headed tough calls. Inventive flow, undiverted by inner turmoil. Fundamentally optimal you, benefiting all encountered. Pre-close, commit inwardly, not to others, kin, to self. Upcoming 30 days, 10-second halt on rising bother. Modest yet potent vow. Honoring builds faith for grander. Reaching videos close indicates growth seeker. Reject victim stance to situations. Crave fuller existence command. That drive your mightiest ally. Nurture, safeguard, engage. Amid world of gripe sands shift. You select alternate, self-evolution, accountability, intentional change. Demanding at moments, sole route to authentic liberty, fulfillment. If echoed, concepts life-altering. Follow this outlet. Consistently provide sophisticated tactics, actionable aids, enduring truths to unlock peak in realms. Enable alerts to catch each release. Every segment delivers concrete, apply now elements for swift uplifts. Kindly pass this along to potential beneficiaries. Kin battling rage. Allies trapped in external blame. Teammates needing feeling smarts. Disseminating shifts lives. Aids individuals. Fosters globe of mindful selectors. Empathy over condemnation. Connectors. Farewell thought. Absorbing this, authority rests to shape remaining years. Opt reactive, let others' circumstances rule feelings, helpless. Or command inner domain, craft feeling journeys, fountain of poise and sagacity for environs. Your epic in next 5 minutes, post view, mirrors 5 years ahead. Shift, resolve plus steady minor steps. Existence poised for your resolve. Ties await, evolved you. Young ones, your model of steadiness. Career path, your pressured wisdom. Above, merit escape from self-made reaction cage. Merit awaken steering sentiments. Merit profound equilibrium none can pilfer. Liberty yours, not deferred tomorrow, next cycle, better conditions. Immediate via basic resolve. Recall, single resolve can utterly reshape existence. Resolve this moment.